Good morning friends, welcome back to Pandika Tutorials. In the last video, I have discussed non-preemptive priority based scheduling algorithm. I hope you have watched that video. If you did not watch that video or if you don't know that concept, I request you to go back and watch that video and come back to this video. In this video, I want to discuss preemptive priority based scheduling algorithm. So I request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. Any scheduling algorithm will have two parameters. One is the criteria and another one is mode. In this scheduling algorithm, the criteria is priority. The processor which has the highest priority will be dispatched to the running state. Okay, and the mode, we will have two modes. One is preemptive, another one is non-preemptive. The name itself is saying that it is a preemptive scheduling algorithm. Now, to make you understand the preemptive priority based scheduling algorithm, I have considered one example. Here you have 6 processes which are there from P1 to P6 and I have given a priority. The priority of two types, one is static or dynamic. What is meant by static priority? For the entire duration, the priority of the processor will not change. If it is dynamic, the priority of the processor will vary. I have assumed that it is a static priority. So meaning is that P1 has been assigned priority as 3. For the entire duration, its priority value will be 3 only. Then you can ask me one doubt, sir, P5 has the value 1, P6 has the value 6. Which one you will give high priority? That information will be provided in the question itself. If they say that 1 should be lowest priority, 6 as highest priority, you need to consider accordingly. If they say that 1 should be given high priority, 3 should be given low priority or 6 should be given low priority based on what order they are saying. So here what I have considered is that the processor which has the lowest priority value will be given lowest priority. Is it clear? So that's why 1 has given lowest priority, 6 has given the highest priority. So with this knowledge, let me solve this question. Okay. To solve any scheduling mechanism, we need to draw the Gantt chart. Okay, always the Gantt chart starts from 0 units. Look at any processor has arrived at 0 units of time. No, none of the processor has arrived at 0 units of time. So the CPU will be idle. Okay, now at 1 unit of time, processor P1 has been arrived. Is it clear? So only one processor is there in the ready state. Then we will dispatch it to the running state. So processor P1 will be dispatched. As it is a preemptive scheduling algorithm, we will run for only 1 unit of time and we will verify whether any other processor has been arrived by this time. Look at here. P1 is currently running. P2 has arrived at that time. Is it clear? Now you need to look at the priorities of each processor. Processor P1 has run for 1 unit of time. So its remaining burst time is 1. So processor P1 has the priority value 3. Processor P2 has the priority value 4. Which one has given highest priority? P2 will be given highest priority. So there will be a context switching. So P2 will come here and P1 will be there in the ready state. We will run the processor P2 for 1 unit of time. So its remaining burst time is 3 units and we will see any other processes arrived during that time. Look at here, at 3 units of time, processor P3 has arrived. Now we will look at the priorities of all the processes. Processor P1 priority is 3, P2 and P3 priority is 4. Whenever there is an equal priority, we need to look at the which one there is a tie. If there is a tie, we will look at the first come first serve scheduling algorithm. Meaning is that which processor has been arrived first. Look at P2 and P3. Which processor has arrived first? P2 has arrived first. So again it will be running for 1 unit of time. So its remaining burst time is 2 units. Is it clear? Are you able to understand? By the time, look at any processor has arrived. Yes, processor P4 has arrived to the ready state. Then we need to look at its priority also. P4 has the priority value 5. P1, P3 has the priority values as 3 and 4 respectively. P2 has 4. Now, the P2 has the priority 4 and P4 has the highest priority. So, there is a processor in the ready state which has highest priority as compared to the processor which is currently running. So you have to do the context switching. So if you do the context switching, processor P4 will come to the ready state and processor running state, and processor P2 will be given back to the ready state. Is it clear? Now processor P4 will run for 1 unit of time. Processor P4 will run for 1 unit of time, and it will look any other processor has arrived during that time. Look at here, processor P5 has arrived. So again 4 processors are there in the ready state. We will look at the priorities. This one is 1, P4 has 5, P2 has 4. Now compare the process priority which is there in the ready state and running state. P4 has higher priority. So still P4 will run for 1 more unit of time. Its remaining burst time is 4 units. Okay, are you able to understand it or not? By that time, processor P6 also arrived to the ready state. It has the highest priority 6. So look at the situation. The processor which is there in the ready queue has the highest priority as compared to the processor which is currently running. So you have to do the context switching. So processor P6 will come and processor P4 will go back to the ready state. And processor P6 will be run for 1 unit of time. Even its burst time is only 1, so it will complete its task. If it is complete its task, it will go to the terminated state. To identify, I have kept a tick mark here to say that processor P6 is completed successfully. Okay. Now look at here. Processor P6 has completed, gone to the terminated state. Now any processor need to bring it into the ready state. Look at all the process priority. Which processor has highest priority? Processor P4 has the highest priority. So that will be dispatched to the running state. Now it will run for 1 unit of time. Okay, its remaining burst time is 3 units. But still, if you look at this process priority has the highest priority as compared to the process which are there in the ready state. So you can run for remaining amount of time. So totally it will run for 4 units of time. So it will complete at 11 units of time. Look at here, 2, 4, 6. Yes, its burst time is 6. It is perfect. Okay, at 11 units of time, processor P4 has completed. Are you able to understand? If it is completed, it will go to the terminated state. So among the processes which are there in the ready state P1, P3, P2, P5, you need to look at the priorities. P2 and P3 has the same priority. If there is a tie, you need to look at the arrival time. Which one has arrived first? P2 has arrived first. So that will be dispatched to the running state, and it needs another 2 units of time. So you will run for another 2 units of time, because if you compare after 1 unit of time also, P2 will have the highest priority. Okay, so P2 is completed. Now among P1, P3, P5, which has the highest priority? P3 has the highest priority. Okay, so it will dispatch the P3, and P3 need 1 unit of time. So we will complete it by 14th unit of time, and it will go to the terminated state. So among P1 and P5, which has the highest priority? P1. So P1 will be dispatched, and it needs remaining 1 unit of time. It will complete its task at 15 units of time. Now only one process is there. We need to look at the priority that will be scheduled to or dispatched to the running state. It has 8 units of burst time. We will complete that one at 23 units of time. Is it clear? Are you able to understand? So we got the completion time for all the process. So with that knowledge, what we can do, we can find the completion time. So how can we compute the completion time? Processor P1, when it has completed at 15 units of time. So you write it. Processor P2, when it has completed 13, write it. Processor P3, when it has completed 14, write it here. Okay, I hope you are able to follow. Processor P4 at 11 units of time it has completed. Processor P5 at 23 units of time. Processor P6 completed at 7 units of time. This is very important. Please look at clearly. Processor P1, last time it came here at 15 units of time, it is completed. Processor P2, last time it is here at 13 units of time, it is completed. Processor P3, here it is last time, it has completed 14 units of time. Processor P4, where is it lost? Here. So at 11 units of time it is completed. Process P5, here 23. Processor P6, here 7. Okay, once we got the completion time, we can easily compute the turnaround time. How can I compute the turnaround time? Turnaround time is completion time minus arrival time. Let me compute that one. Okay, let me erase this one and I will compute the turnaround time. Okay, turnaround time is completion time minus arrival time, which is 15 minus 1 is 14, 13 minus 2 is 11, 14 minus 3 is 11, 11 minus 4 is 7, 23 minus 5 is 18, 7 minus 6 is 1. Now let me compute the waiting time of all the process. Waiting time is equal to turnaround time minus burst time. Okay, turnaround time is 14, burst time is 2, so it is 12. 11 minus 4, 7, 11 minus 1 is 10, 7 minus 1 is 6, 18 minus 8 is 10, 1 minus 1 is 0. Then we need to compute the response time. As it is a preemptive scheduling algorithm, the response time will not be equal to waiting time. If it is a non-preemptive scheduling algorithm, then only the waiting time and response time will be same. To compute the response time, we need the Gantt chart. However, due to space issues, I have erased it. I hope you have watched all my previous videos. You can easily compute the response time. Compute the response time of all the processes and write it in the comment section. If it is right or wrong, I will look at it. If it is wrong, I will correct you. If it is right, I will appreciate you. I hope you have understood how I solved this example with respect to the preemptive priority based scheduling algorithm. As compared to the non-preemptive, always preemptive will be little bit complex. I hope it is clear for you. If you still have any doubts related to this concept or related to this example, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.